So, should I remain on this heading?
Yup.
After calling for the autopilot to be engaged, Captain Wamwea released the control column, trusting the autopilot to fly the plane. But there's a problem.
The autopilot didn't come on.
He thought the 737 was flying itself.
There was nobody flying the controls, so nothing was controlling the airplane.
The discovery changes the course of the entire investigation.
N1.
Okay, Command.
Why didn't the autopilot come on?
The captain calls for the autopilot to be engaged. But the first officer does not respond.
The procedure should be for the first officer to push the button and say, the autopilot engaged.
Okay, Command.
So, should I remain on this heading?
Yup.
Investigators believe the first officer was so focused on inputting the route around the storm that he failed to engage the autopilot.
2,400 feet and climbing.
Now we're getting into it.
Meanwhile, the captain assumed the autopilot was engaged and controlling the pre-selected right turn.
Bank angle, bank angle.
The pilots only noticed a problem when the bank angle warning went off.
Bank angle, bank angle.
It's pretty clear the captain expected the autopilot to be engaged and it didn't get engaged. And then neither crew member picked up the fact that it wasn't engaged.
We're crashing!
Yeah, we are crashing! Left! Left! Left correction!
Why did neither crew member take the critical step of engaging the autopilot?
Standard operating procedures provide a safety net for crews, but if crews don't adhere to the standard operating procedures, they lose that protection.
They comb through Kenya Airways procedures to see who has responsibility for activating the autopilot.
Anything?
Yeah, from what I can tell, it's not really clear who is supposed to do it. All it specifies is turn on when above minimum altitude for engagement. It's not very helpful.
It wasn't really clear in the standard operating procedures of when the autopilot does come on, who's responsible for doing that and what the response should be to that.
Bank angle, bank angle.
Recovering from a 35-degree bank is not a complicated procedure.
Bank angle, bank angle.
The bank angle warning is designed to give pilots enough time to react. But for some reason, this crew wasn't able to do that. The team digs into their records.
This is what we have on Wamwea.
Lots of experience. 16 years as a pilot, most of those on the 737.
Let's see what this storm is doing.
The captain had been a flight attendant for Kenya Airways years and years ago, and then went to flight school and got his ratings and transitioned into the role of pilot.
Wait. Look at this.
But the captain's training records reveal serious shortcomings.
Inadequate knowledge of systems and procedures, insufficient flight discipline, poor cockpit scans. Below standard. Yikes.
Get up.
Okay.
We discovered the captain had a history of training difficulties and lack of systems knowledge for autoflight systems and so forth. So he had some red flags in his history.
The first officer's report isn't any better.
Failed to monitor autopilot when engaged.
V1. Rotate.
The first officer was young and fairly inexperienced. He only had a little over 800 hours of flight time, and he had had some training feedback that involved things like you need to be more proactive about calling out deviations and so forth.
not an A-level crew.
We're crashing! Left correction!
Bank angle. Bank angle.
Did a lack of skills in the cockpit doom the 108 passengers on board the flight?
Bank angle. Bank angle.
Investigators need to determine if pilot error caused the horrific crash of Kenya Airways Flight 507.